Is our health at stake? Creating awareness on the environmental health risks of cosmetics and personal care products. That's what I would like to talk to you about. My name is Chantal Van Den Bossche. I'm Communications Coordinator for WECF, Women Engage for a Common Future. And a great deal of my work is dedicated to creating awareness on the need for a toxic-free and healthy environment. It's a pleasure to be here today and to be able to express our views on cosmetics and chemicals. And I would also like to thank the Geneva Environmental Network for inviting us to present this. As I said, I represent WECF. We are an eco-feminist network dedicated to a gender-just and healthy planet for all. Our international network consists of over 150 women's and civil society organizations implementing projects in 50 countries. WECF's International Secretariat is based in the Netherlands, and we have country offices in Germany, France, and Georgia. And for us, ecofeminism means using an intersectional feminist approach when fighting structural barriers that prevent us from enjoying a healthy environment, recognizing that we all come with a different baggage depending on our gender, age, race, sexual identity, ability, class. We as WECF, we work through knowledge sharing, through policy and advocacy, and through outreach and awareness raising. And our key issues are sustainable development, toxic-free and a healthy environment, and climate action, all from an eco-feminist perspective. And for us, cosmetics is an important subject to work on as it intersects our health, the environment, and gender roles. We think we have the right to healthy cosmetic products. Our bathrooms today are stacked with shampoos and deodorants and creams, and all cooked up to make us feel, look, and smell good. But the sense of youth and good health could sometimes be a dangerous illusion. Ironically, many of our daily healthy and beauty products contain synthetic and often hazardous chemicals, including endocrine disruptors. And more people are becoming aware of this, as today's Cosmetics Coming Clean documentary also shows. We cannot imagine our contemporary lifestyle without cosmetics. But as consumers, we really need to think about the chemical substances surrounding us. The cosmetics industry is, and that's interesting, it's one of the biggest industry in this world. Figures show that the global cosmetics market was valued at $500 billion in 2019. $500 billion, projected to grow on a yearly basis by 4%. It's one of the most profitable businesses on earth. So the industry does not lack funds to invest in safer and healthier alternatives if they would want to. Do they really want this? And there are many producers becoming more responsible, and there is legislation which controls and regulates the use and production of chemical ingredients in cosmetics. But we as consumers have an important role. We can create a demand for products with safer ingredients. And without chemicals of potential concern, and then industry would need to adjust to this in order to stay competitive. But in order to know what we're buying, clear labeling and a strict authorization system is crucial if we are to have truly safe products on the market. Sadly, current laws, despite an extensive body of legislation, for instance, in the EU, still insufficiently protect us from harmful chemicals. I will point to recent research on this later in this presentation. But informed choices are key for consumers, because it's not the responsibility of the individual consumer to avoid toxic substances or substances of concern. And today, a lot of consumers are knowingly choosing products with ingredients of lower concern, but awareness is still needed. the average person sees about 400 to 600 advertisements per day. A large percentage of them are direct messages about beauty. And on top of that, there's social media, mostly focusing on young women, teen girls, children, and often reinforcing traditional gender roles. So as an NGO, informing the public on potential or known chemicals of concern used in everyday products is a balancing act. You don't want to create fear, you want people to be informed. And what I mentioned just now, the gender aspects of chemicals in cosmetics are very important. People, men, women, children are all susceptible and exposed to chemicals in different ways. But in the case of women, or people born as women, biological factors such as the physical makeup are a reason that they are even more vulnerable. For example, women have more fatty tissue than men and undergo so-called windows of susceptibility, which is pregnancy, lactation, menopause. And these are periods when the female body changes and becomes more vulnerable to pollution, as an increasingly large body of scientific evidence shows. And when it comes to differences in exposure to chemicals and pollutants, social factors are important. There is a direct link between traditional gender roles and exposure to chemicals. And due to structural inequalities, women often do not have access to safer alternatives because often they are more expensive. On the positive side, women can also be key agents of change, for instance, by changing consumer patterns. But as I just said, young girls and women of reproductive age are a key target for cosmetics advertising. And there are concerns that even an unborn baby can be vulnerable to chemicals absorbed by their mother. So policies aiming at reducing our environmental impact can only be successful if they take gender identities that often intersect with other social and environmental identities into account, especially now at a time of economic recession, likely during this pandemic, which is likely to hit women particularly hard. There's a real risk of a backlash. Polluted and toxic environments affect men's and women's health differently, and this requires gender-responsive interventions. Another thing is that also for legislation and policy measures, we believe the precautionary principle offers a unique basis for action on hazardous chemicals, including cosmetic ingredients. Regarding the EU, hazardous substances such as the chemicals used in the cosmetics and in food also and medicines are excluded from REACH. All cosmetic products are governed by the European Cosmetics Regulation, which defines which ingredients are forbidden or allowed and how they should be indicated on the label. Cosmetic ingredients have to be listed on the product label. Mandatory labeling of nano ingredients has been in fact since July 2013. However, the health risks posed by nanoparticles have not yet been fully investigated. But even mandatory labeling in the EU does not prevent the inclusion of ingredients that can have long-term effects on our health. Once the chemicals are absorbed by the skin, they can enter the bloodstream. And some products are also used as sprays or aerosols and could enter the body via inhalation. Some ingredients can have irritating or allergenic effects or are suspected of being endocrine disruptors, chemicals that interfere with our hormone system. So that leaves us with a huge body burden. And then there's the cocktail effect. Each day, we are not just exposed to one single hazardous substance, but to a real chemical cocktail. And when you think of the amount of cosmetic products young girls use on a daily basis, that makes a huge cocktail. And that mixture can even be more harmful than the sum of each individual chemical. Over 1,300 scientific studies already link exposure to EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals, to spiraling rates of hormone-related cancers, diabetes, obesity, and reproductive health problems. So let's single out a few of the chemicals that we should be aware of in cosmetics. The first one, one of the most well-known, triclosan. It's used as an antibacterial agent, can be found in toothpaste, soaps, and hand washes. It is known to have hormone-disrupting properties. Parabens, a group of chemicals found in some cosmetics, body creams, hair products. They can be absorbed through the skin. And lead. Some lipsticks may contain lead in their composition. Lead is a proven neurotoxin that can cause learning, language, and behavioral problems. And of course, plastic. Many personal care products contain microplastics. And the problem with plastic is that, unfortunately, it never goes away. It eventually falls apart into smaller and smaller pieces until nothing else remains than microplastics. Pieces of plastic smaller than 5 millimeters. Microplastics pollute our nature, affect biodiversity, and moreover, the effects of microplastics on our health are still unknown. As an NGO, we of course have our demands regarding cosmetics. In July 2020, WECF France issued the report Children's Sunscreens, Too Many Ingredients of Concern, based on a survey of 71 products available on the market in France. Our report was based on a review of the safety of the labeled ingredients using the most recent scientific literature and existing legislation. In these 71 products, we identified 29 substances of concern, which we classified in 3 categories: 10 considered to be of very high concern, 7 of high concern, and 12 of concern. And this list included ingredients suspected or known to be harmful for human health, but they were all found on the labels and they were all authorized under the EU cosmetics regulation. And this situation is highly problematic in terms of protection of human health and ecosystems. And following our report, we shared our demands with national and international authorities. And the most important demands for us are to ban known or suspected endocrine disruptors in cosmetics and personal care products, specifically aimed at children and pregnant women, to ensure the respect of mandatory labeling of all nanoparticles used in cosmetics and address the safety of nanoparticles in cosmetics, and to regulate a group of chemicals of the same families and address the chemicals mixtures, the cocktail effect. There is, of course, you can do a lot to, well, not a lot, but you can do your best to avoid chemicals of concern in cosmetics. And the most important thing is read the label and make sure that you are aware of what all these names mean of the ingredients. In the European Union, all cosmetics must display a list of ingredients. This makes it a bit easier than elsewhere. So you can at least avoid triclosan and parabens. If you're outside the EU, choose cosmetics that are approved and sold in the EU, as the EU has the strictest chemical regulations in the world. So these cosmetics may have fewer harmful chemicals in them. Not all products contain the same ingredients, and that's an interesting one. To make matters even worse, a global study from the Danish Consumer Council, Think, conducted in the autumn of 2020, found that cosmetic products not only can contain unwanted chemicals, but they also found that identical cosmetic products from the same brands can contain different chemicals depending on which country they are marketed in. So even in the EU, the same shampoo might contain different ingredients in a different country. So some tips to avoid problems: use fewer products and choose products with fewer ingredients. The risk to health and environment from products containing nanoparticles is not yet clear. So try to avoid products with ingredients indicated as nano on the label. If you suffer from allergies, try to avoid substances that trigger them. Read the label. And especially problematic in terms of hazardous ingredients are the following cosmetic products: hair straighteners, perfumes, fragrances, and dark permanent hair dyes, and skin lighteners. And also of course, skin lighteners are also from more perspectives very problematic. Prefer skincare products with plant-based oils and without mineral oils. And another thing, the term natural cosmetics is not legally protected. It does not ensure that no synthetic substances are used. Try making your own is also a good one. I can refer you later on to our websites where you can find recipes, and products with internationally accepted eco-labels have a certified good environmental quality and guaranteed technical performance. Any product bearing these recognized eco-labels have had to undergo thorough test procedures by certified third-party institutions. If you want to know more, visit our project nesting pages, www.projectnesting.org, where you can find more information in English, Dutch, German, and French. And if you want to know more about the in-depth subject of women and chemicals, you can find more information in our publication, Women and Chemicals, the Impact of Hazardous Chemicals on Women, which can be found on our WECF, International WECF website. And you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you very much for your attention.